Welcome to the Friday edition of Take 5 for Torah, and that is the Haftorah of the next day. And this week we have a double parsha, Tazria and Metzora, and even when they're separate, both Haftorahs plug into the same story in Sefer Malachim of the 4 lepers and the leprosy of Naaman. Of course, we only read the second one when they're together, and that is the story of the 4 lepers who saw the camp of the Arameans and saw that there were no Arameans there, just a camp filled with food and filled with luxuries that the Israelites had been denied for 7 years. 7 years of famine and 7 years of a siege left the Israelites so impoverished and so starving that the Tanakh tells us, this is not exaggeration from some type of medrash, it's the Tanakh that tells us that a handful of dove's dung sold in the marketplace for shkalim, a donkey's skull sold in the marketplace for money. People paid for these things because there was no food. The Radak says that maybe there was some undigested food in this dove's dung. Things were so terrible. There's even a story in the Tanakh of 2 women who ate their children. It was really getting so terrible to the point where the prophet Elisha told an unbelieving king that if you only turn to God, very soon a full sack full of grain will sell for just 1 shekel. And an unbelieving attendant of the king said, this can never be, even if God would open up the heavens, there could never be in such a time that grain could sell so cheaply. And Elisha turned to him and said, you will see this with your own eyes, and you will not be able to eat from it. The Talmud actually tells us that it's this story, the very end of the story, that says that because the Arameans left their camp, God made them feel or hear that another marauding force was just upon them, that they all left their camp with 7 years of collected food ready for all the people. And these 4 lepers saw this food and began to eat it. At first they thought that the camp was filled with Arameans, and they said, listen, we're starving, we'll die if we don't give ourselves up. And now we'll give ourselves up, maybe they'll let us eat something before they kill us. And then they saw the camp was empty with all that food. And they decided we have to tell the people back home that there is food for them, that we can open this gate and see 7 years of collected food. Let's tell the people. And when this disbelieving man opened the gates, the people rushed because they were so starving, and they trampled over him. He saw the food and didn't get to eat it, just as the prophet had said. And it's simply amazing that such salvation should come from lepers. Sometimes our salvation comes from someone like Moshe, someone like Yehoshua, someone like Gideon, someone like Eliyahu. Sometimes our salvation comes from lepers. And it's fascinating that every year, that's not a leap year, the week of Yom HaAtzmaut always coincides with this Haftorah. Perhaps it's a message for everyone to understand that sometimes God sends even a spiritual redemption. He sends a return to the land of Israel, a return to the food that the people needed to stay alive, sometimes from lepers or sometimes from spiritual lepers. Those who object to Yom HaAtzmaut because its founders, those who helped us get back to Israel after a 2,000-year exile, were spiritually leprous. But sometimes, that's how God brings about our redemption. So let's remember this each and every year. We derive the question of denial of afterlife from this very story. Gemara says that if someone denies afterlife, he will see it. He will not derive benefit from it. Just like this disbelieving attendant told his king, how could Elisha's promise of such cheap grain come true in such a quick time? God's salvation, Yeshua's Hashem, keheref ayin, just like in our Haftorah that happened so many years ago, May we see a redemption, a quick redemption, keheref ayin, just like God can always do for us, even in our own day. And we'll see nisim v'niflaos as we just completed our festival of Nisim, of Pesach, our month of Nisim, of Nisan, as we approach Iyar now in these joyful days, celebrating our return to Zion.